Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for this COVID roundtable discussion. How has COVID-19 impacted our community, and how can we move forward? COVID-19 has devastated our nation, our country, and Charles City County. To date, we have more than 60 citizens that have been confirmed with COVID-19. And unfortunately, we've lost 5 citizens to death. Like many other communities, we are learning how to adapt and to survive. And so tonight, we just want to have a discussion about how are we doing that? How are we adapting and surviving COVID-19? Charles City County has put out a lot of information about prevention and how we need to protect ourselves, but my emergency management team and the county, we wanted to know, how is Charles City County residents doing? How are you coping with COVID-19? So before we get started, I want to introduce, or have our panel introduce themselves. And we're going to start to my left, have them introduce themselves and what organization they represent.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Denise Flournoy. I work with Untitled Area Mental Health and Developmental Services, which also represents Newviews County and Charles City.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Reverend Danny L. Tucker, pastor of the Parish Hill Baptist Church, and I'm also the president of the Charles City Christian Clergy Conference. And I'm delighted to be here.
Hello, my name is Stephen Atkins. I'm a lifelong Charles City County resident. Don't plan to go anywhere else. And I love the county. I'm people with how many you can try. Just glad to be here tonight to share with you folks and hear what you have to say.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leslie Comer. I'm the major of the Charles City Sheriff's Office, and I take care of the day-to-day operation and administration of the Sheriff's Office.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle Johnson. I'm the County Administrator here in Charles City County.
Hey, good evening. I'm Delphine Jaffe. I'm the new superintendent for Charles City County Public Schools.
Good evening, I'm George Bridges, Captain of Charles City Fire and EMS.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Whitaker, co-owner of Coles Courthouse Grove.
Good evening, my name is Alexis Williams, and I'm a current Charles City High School senior.
And once again, my name is Jimmy Johnson. I'm the Director of Fire and Emergency Services in Charles City County, and I'm also the Emergency Management Coordinator. With the guidance of Charles City County Administrator and the board, we just want to acknowledge the difficulties maybe that some residents may or may not be having, and some of the challenges that the county residents may or may not be having. But as a board and as a county government, our main priority is the safety of all our residents of Charles City County. So without further ado, let's get down to talking about some questions. All right, this is a very informal conversation. So first question, and we're going to start over here to my left, to our first panelist. COVID-19 created a need for all communities to reevaluate how they function. What were some of the ways the impact of COVID impacted your community on a day-to-day? And if you're not a resident of Charles City, it could be your own community.
Well, I was just going to talk a little bit kind of about what Henrico Area Mental Health did to ensure, try to help the citizens of New Kent, Henrico, and Charles City. We did really try to continue to support the individuals here that receive our services. While our buildings stayed closed, we still had the prescribers and the physicians there to allow for citizens to still come to the building to receive medications and prescriptions and things like that. We definitely had to completely rework our whole system with the building shut down. We serve individuals with disabilities of all ranges, from children to adults. So our case managers with very limited resources as far as when to see people. we had to do a lot of telecommuting and WebEx Zoom meetings, just to make sure that everybody was getting the resources and things that they were getting prior to. We're just doing it a lot differently now, but the county really worked with Charles City and Henrico to make sure, New Kent to make sure that we can continue those services to the best of our ability. Our case managers continue to reach out to the individuals that they serve. We try to reach out to everybody monthly, sometimes weekly, just to make sure people still have food. We had a food pantry kind of thing set up. We had case managers bringing food to our individuals as needed. We were still trying to provide any kind of financial assistance that we could. And we're still here today for anybody that needs assistance, whether that's mental health supports, developmental supports, anything that our residents need. We're here to try to support them, at least direct them to other resources that they need. Because it's very difficult right now for everyone. And we can talk a little bit later, just the fact of being rural and the internet and transportation. That I think those need to be more strenuous for everybody. So.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Reverend Tucker?
Okay, some of the churches, in not just Charles City, but in other areas, have returned to worship services inside the church building. In some cases, the wearing of mask is optional, and in some cases, it's mandatory. When churches do this, they limit the number of worshipers allowed inside the building. They try to maintain social distancing also, and they are concerned about sanitizing the church as well as the bathrooms. On some other churches, they're holding worship services in the parking lot, and that's what we're doing in Parish Hill Baptist Church. The members and visitors remain in their cars, and the church service is broadcast over the car radio or over a PA system. And also, some churches have outdoor tents that they're set up. We happen to have a carport area that we use as our pulpit. Some churches are also using conference call technology, and some churches are using social media or live stream on Facebook, and they record the Sunday sermon or Bible studies on YouTube or Facebook. Pastors who have rarely used social media tools are learning how to do these things. Many of the funerals that I have attended, if it was at the funeral home, there was a small group, limited group. Otherwise, it was a graveside funeral. Many of the members at my church do not feel safe being inside a large building with a crowd of people. And I have tried to encourage my people, let's continue to be cautious and don't take safety for granted. Wearing of a face mask or face covering, it does help to reduce the impact of the virus. It is low tech, it is low cost, and it's easy to use. And when we do reduce the impact of the virus, everyone wins. And finally, I wanted to say that when we had exposure to a flu, we knew we were sick and we went home to get plenty of rest. But with COVID-19, if we had it, we continue to go about our business and continue to be contagious. So it's important that we maintain a love for one another and a respect for the health and safety of everyone. So if everyone is safe, then we're all safe. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Chief Atkins.
And Reverend Tucker spoke to some of the things that we're doing in my community, church services from the parking lot. Committee meetings that used to be standard fare, we don't have those anymore. And it's forced us to use technology like webinars and Zoom and Teams meetings. And some of the things we took for granted, dining out, even grocery shopping, we learn to adjust. If you make it one trip a week and get everything you need, you can at that time. We had to learn to cope with the fact that if a family member or friend became ill, doctor visits, hospital visits, if any at all, one person per day. In some instances, we've had loved ones that had rather severe illnesses that required operations, and we couldn't visit them. So that's a reality we face in trying to deal with some of the things that used to be normal. Somebody goes to the hospital, you go to visit them. Our Bible study groups have started meeting online. And simple things like handshakes or hugs. You've got to get accustomed to not doing that. But one thing that really emerged in my mind is that we truly need to be our brother's keeper. There's a lot of skepticism over the use of face masks. And science is evolving, but I think we need to listen to the science and do what we can do. If we help our brother and sister, we're helping ourselves. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. Major Coleman?
You know, well, one thing about the sheriff's office, we have a lot of moving parts. So Sheriff Jones is big on community relations. So a lot of stuff, when the virus came out, we used to be face to face. We had to pretty much back off a little bit. So reports, we had started taking reports more over the phone than going out because we were trying to protect our officers and our staff. And we have only 12 deputies that work in county. And we pretty much have 6 dispatchers that work in county. So we're trying to protect them plus our family. So, we try to balance that. Again, crime didn't stop. So we had to still deal with crime and all the other stuff. So to us, then they had changes to the courts. So the way we operate the courts changed. So it was like change after change after change. But we pretty much factored through that and worked through that. And like Jimmy said, we had emergency management team meetings. We'll meet on different things and kind of brainstorm. That's pretty much it.
Ms. Johnson?
So I think, when you talk about our community, and I'm going to take it from the angle of our organization, how we run Charles City County, it's amazing how when something happens, you don't realize how you can just switch gears really fast. And, you would say the new normal. I don't even know if what we did was normal or not anymore. I do think that when we first had the pandemic, I remember Angela, our PR consultant, saying, "Oh, this is real. It's gonna, impact a large magnitude." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's only gonna be, a couple of days and this will be over." Lo and behold, that's when I realized when everybody had to go home. So we were not prepared for staff to work virtually. Right? We know that we have a broadband or technology problem in Charles City that we are correcting. It's under construction right now. So to have staff pick up and go virtual was, something that we had to think of really, really quick. So we were able to purchase laptops for, key personnel, but it still took us, about a couple of weeks to do that. Now, all of the directors had, the technology, but still some of our staff members did not. So we had to think really, really fast on our feet. I mean, we've had some virtual meetings. Some of them have been successful. Some of them haven't, right? We've never done technology the way we're doing it now. So we're thankful that our citizens, and some of them are patient and some aren't, but we are working hard to make sure we're trying to deliver a quality product. And so just having to send everybody home and regroup. And right before the pandemic, I introduced Microsoft Teams to my staff, and they hated it. They did, especially Jimmy. He did not, he was like, "Why do we have to do this?" Jimmy doesn't like change sometimes, but it's okay. But lo and behold, they were thankful because we were able to not only do the video on Microsoft Teams, but we were able to create a incident management team. And everybody could put their information in there, so it came in right on time. So it's been the most reliable tool. So I think just figuring out ways how to just maintain county operations, because we still have to service the citizens. That just doesn't stop, like crime doesn't stop. And so I think for us, we now are well into it and have a better handle on it than what we did. Thank you.
Again, Ms. Johnson. Our newest member to the community is Dr. Joppi.
So good evening. So it was March 13th. That was a pivotal day across our state when educators and students across the state were told that we were going to shelter in place. And I don't care where you were, what city, what county, it was leadership teams in school divisions everywhere that were coming together and thinking about how are we going to approach teaching and learning in a very different way. And as you heard other people say, we had to pivot on a dime and figure out how do we deliver effective teaching and learning in this new way. And so school divisions everywhere, and I know just like where I just transitioned from Chesapeake Public Schools, I know Charles City was also thinking about how do we expand our one-to-one initiative. Those school divisions that had already put their toe in the water for a one-to-one initiative were a little, ahead of the game, but other divisions that hadn't gotten technology in the hands of all their students at that time quickly started ordering devices. Some divisions were ordering Chromebooks, some were ordering additional laptops, some were ordering tablets. In counties where there was broadband issues, they were ordering hotspots so that there was equitable access to the internet among our students. And not just among our students, but also among our teachers. What we discovered is that not only did students have challenges with connecting to the internet, but some of the teachers did as well. And so once those things were established, there was also, as Ms. Johnson spoke to, the connecting of teams that had to still plan effective lessons for students, that had to come together virtually to talk about what will these lessons look like. Additionally, we had to think about how do we get effective learning packets in the hands of students? How do we hold on to our employees whose work will look differently during this time of learning virtually? Not wanting to furlough employees, how do we utilize them? So utilizing our bus drivers to deliver learning packets. Even as we talk about doing our first 9 online, and that's our first 9 weeks of learning, we're talking about how do we even do breakfast and lunch distribution when we're in this type of format. So we are looking forward to utilizing our bus drivers so that they can deliver our breakfast and lunch and our meals to our students. We're thinking about how do we still come together to have effective professional development for our educators and our paraprofessionals, because some of them had embraced this new way of doing things, others had not. So we've got some novice users with virtual online format and those who are a little bit more veteran. But how do we still continue to provide effective professional development in a new format so that as our teachers and educators and leaders grow, our students continue to grow? Another piece that I wanted to highlight was that we understood that we needed to think about the social emotional well-being of not just our students, but also our staff. They have families, they're individuals too, faced with all kinds of matters. They may have loved ones that may have contacted COVID-19. So how do we continue to build up our teaching force and our students and families? So we learned a lot during this pandemic. Before, when it first hit back in March, to present. And I believe we've learned, we've grown, and realized that we got to depend and come together and work to collectively and collaborate as much as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Chapter. That sounds like you got your hands full.
Yes, absolutely. We all do. Yes, sir.
Captain Bridges.
Being the type of work that we have to provide medical services to the county, social distancing doesn't really fit into that. We still have to, we go into people's houses, we have to come in close contact with them. We still have to deliver the services that they need. So the problem that we ran into is when the CDC put us their recommendations and they said, okay, well, you need, products A, B, and C. When we go to order products A, B, and C, we can't get them. We can't get the face masks that we need. We can't get the hand sanitizer we need. We can't get the gloves that we need because everybody in the country is ordering these products. So luckily, the director was in touch with VDM, Virginia Department of Emergency Management, and got a lot of our supplies. Another issue that we constantly have to face is the patients that we come into contact with when we go home to their families. Everything that we contact in somebody's house, we take home. So that's another layer that's always in the back of our mind. Do I want to take something home to my family? One thing that I've advocated to our firefighters is don't wear this uniform at home. Don't wear it home. In the morning when I get off, I will take this off, put it in my dirty laundry at the station, and I'll put on civilian clothes to go home. That way, my contaminated clothes never leave the fire station. And that's it's a shame that, you know, we have to think about that, but I don't want to take home something that I have at work and carry it home to my wife or to my brand new grandson. So that's a challenge that we face. It has opened their eyes a lot on how do we deliver a little bit different. We can't telework. We can't stand in the front yard with a bullhorn and talk to the patient. We still have to get in there and you know, get, you know, face to face with them to see what they need. So we have had to tweak it a little bit. You know, we planned for this. You know, we've always taken our universal precautions, but we've just taken it to the next level. We use more equipment there because we have air masks and then we immediately put a mask on our patient. Well, so now that's twice the mask that we're going through. As far as gloves, every EMS call I go on, I usually use 3 pair of gloves. So that's just for me. So if we've got 3 people, that's 9 pair of gloves just on one call. So that's the challenge that we run into. But you know, we meet the challenge, we overcome the challenge, and we're still delivering the service to the community.
Thank you. Well said, Captain Bridges. Ms. Bonnie, Whitaker.
Hi, she mentioned the middle of March. I remember back during that time. It was right when Cole's Grill, which is a small business restaurant in Charles City, we're just plowing through. Spring's here, we're ready to roll. So we had a really good weekend. And then the governor announced phase 1, closing off all indoor and outdoor seating. So of course, you know, I panicked. And thank goodness I have Colin there, and he's like, hey, don't worry about it. We're just going to expand all of our to-go menu, and we're going to do takeout the whole time. And then we had a girl that said, I know everybody in Charles City, I can do deliveries. And it was, and, you know, just everybody there stepped up to the plate. And so we got a lot of the employees together and said, let's go ahead and fill out unemployment applications just in case, you know, this thing kills everybody here. So we did that. Actually, I think only one person actually filed the unemployment paperwork. Everything started picking up so well. We had parking lots full of people driving through. We delivered the food to them and they left. Except when I looked out, it was like a tailgate party going on out the parking lot. I was like, what do I do about this? But you know, it's just, the heart was there. Everybody in the county and the surrounding counties supported us. They came to get takeout food. It kept about 12 to 15 employed. And it was beautiful seeing it come together. Then when we hung in there till 50% outdoor seating was approved, that started adding to it pretty good. Then 50% indoor started helping, and we started slowly coming back. It's not like it was last summer, of course, but thank God I see other businesses that have gotten hit a lot worse than we did. And everybody pitched in to help. I was trying to find masks for everyone, and I had a nail technician I used to go, he said, I can't get you masks. He would have bought me a big case of masks and drove them down to Charles City. So it was a really nice coming together. All the employees of Charles City have been supportive of us and been there for us and answered questions, and you know, it's a team effort and everything that we do. So thank God it's you know, it's coming back together. This is something none of us asked for, none of us had anything to do with it. It's just how we respond.
And I think if we could, Bonnie, also, a lot of the businesses who contacted our office and wanted to donate to our first responders, we were able to channel the funding to you to feed our SHRF and our fire and EMS department.
Yes.
So a lot of businesses, you know, everybody just kind of stepped up to the plate. So businesses said, how can we support fire and EMS, the first responders? And so we got quite a bit of donations to feed them, you know, for all 3 shifts. So we were thankful for that.
Yeah. And they're serious about, you know, we're serious about the mask and trying to keep people separated. It's a little hard sometimes, but the sanitizing and the things that the health department helps us with also keep us going.
Ms. Bonnie, I want to just add something to it. Did the influx of bicycles help your business?
Oh,
Because I know you couldn't find a bicycle.
Right,
from the start of
not
COVID.
one there.
So was that a
Yes.
help to your business?
Oh, it's huge help. Being outside, they get their lunch to go and sit there, so across the street at the courthouse, at the park. And, yeah, thank God we were, yeah, I know some of the, unfortunately, the wedding venues in Charleston really took a beating. And, so I feel we've been really fortunate and blessed and everybody working together. Yes, it's possible for a blessing.
Thank you, Ms. Whitaker.
Thank you.
Now, this is probably going to be a good response right here from the youngest member of the panel. How have the young people in our communities, how have they adapted?
Well, to start, doing school virtually was a challenge. It was just the middle of March, and then we get this call, we're not going back to school. So learning how to stay focused at home with the distractions that we may have at home, whether it's siblings, pets, our parents being there. It was just a huge adjustment. And then also going places with my friends or just going places with my family. It's like I have to be conscious of where I'm going and who I'm coming in contact with, because when I'm coming back home, I don't want to bring something back to my grandparents or my aunts and uncles or even my mother. So it was just a huge adjustment and learning to be more cautious and thinking like, is it a good decision to go to the beach? Is it a good decision to go to the mall? Is it a good decision to hang out with friends that I would not think anything of? So I guess just learning how to adapt and be conscious of not just myself, but everyone else around me.
How did not being able to go to the homecomings or the prom or the graduation dance and stuff like that, how did that affect you?
It was sad. I remember telling my mama the day that prom was supposed to take place, would be getting ready for prom right now. But when school closed, we were in the middle of planning it. Our class advisors, we were talking with our teacher, asking what's going to happen. And this was maybe 2 weeks before school actually closed, and she was telling us right now everything is on hold. And then once they said school was closed, it kind of was a heartbreaker because that was my junior prom. And now, I don't know what school's looking like. This year being virtual, are we even going to get back into school?
Well, hopefully we'll make it to the senior prom.
Mr. Johnson, that prom was a big event, and a lot of folks know it in our community. Turns out, I know Mr. Johnson has seen it, people from every ethnicity in the county will converge on some area church and take all kinds of pictures and then leave from there and go to the prom.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it hurt us parents too, even not grandparents, but we just love to see the excitement of the kids when they're ready for prom. So, my heart goes out to you.
Thank you.
Okay. So this next question is going to come right back to you, Ms. Williams. What was one of the biggest lessons you learned regarding how this virus impacted your daily life? What was a lesson that you learned?
That it's real and not to play with it, and I have to make sure I'm wearing my mask, constantly sanitizing. Last year, I wasn't wiping down everything I touched, but now I make sure that's something I do. I make sure somebody isn't getting too close because of the fact I don't know where you've been or who you've come in contact with.
Okay. Ms. Whitaker, I'm going to change that question up just a little bit for you. What was one of the biggest lessons for you regarding how this virus impacted your daily business, in a sense? Did you doing it? I know you did the takeout.
Yeah, we changed all that. It was a real change for a while, and the people that worked there, of course, were a little nervous. I mean, we didn't know if we were all going to have to shut down. Other restaurants did shut down. So it hurt for a while, but we just tried to make sure we all kept up daily on the briefings that were coming on TV by the governor and everybody. I mean, you know, your life changes in a day when they bring out new regulations. But knowing the information was so important, and relying on, like I said, everyone in the community But it made you appreciate the customers the most because they just, they were there. And we're so sorry for you. I was like, oh no, it's like you're hurting too. so that was the biggest thing I learned.
Captain Bridges, what was a positive lesson that helped you change how you do things?
One of the biggest lessons for me was Zoom. I didn't know what the heck a Zoom was. But I found out that I could still, being part of the county administration and having weekly meetings, we could still do what we needed to do to discuss the pandemic and what did we need to do to help the citizens. We were still able to do that with technology, and technology just bypassed me. But I got a quick lesson in it. Got my kids to show me how to put it on my phone. But I was able to learn a new skill. So unfortunately, it took something like this to teach me that. But that was the biggest thing that I learned. And I think as far as that department, we found out that we could still get the job done without the traditional ways. We conducted a business. We still responded to calls. We still did everything, but we just had to tweak it a little bit. But learning a new way to do something was the biggest lesson for me.
And I know I guess I can speak with the fire department too. One of the things we did do was our dispatchers started asking questions in advance of first responders and even the deputies arriving on the scene, just to give us a heads up to make sure that we were as prepared as we could be with the COVID. And and then we took it a step further as far as asking those questions. We would ask, is the patient able to come outside, so we didn't have to send as many people into a home with somebody that may be contaminated. If we had to send everybody in, we would have done it, but if you could meet us outside and just made contact with one of our firefighters or medics, that was a little better for us. All right.
But we didn't treat anybody any different. Everybody got the same level of care. So regardless of if they had COVID, didn't have COVID, whatever, they still got the the level of care that everybody else gets. But it just helped us a little bit to where if we can get them out. So it didn't change their delivery of care, but it did help protect us a little bit more.
And you guys did transport a
We
few
transported
patients.
multiple patients and still transport multiple patients.
Yeah.
And we have a good relationship with the hospitals and them notifying me of potential cases or positive confirmed cases. So, Dr. Jock, what was a positive lesson that you have learned from this virus?
So one of the positive lessons we learned, and I want to say one of the biggest lessons we learned is the very importance of frequent, consistent, clear communication among staff and with our families. So we know that sometimes it just eased things when people understood what the intent was, what the plans were. So when we could give clear, frequent, consistent communication, it made things better. We also learned, again, as I stated earlier, the importance of collaboration, that we can't do it by ourselves. We've got to work together, and when we work together, we can be supportive of one another, and it heightens the likelihood of us being more successful. And the last piece we learned is that we got to give each other a little bit of grace, that we're all learning and growing, we're all navigating some very new and strange waters. So we learned that, we've got to give each other a little bit of grace. Let us learn better. When we know better, we'll do better. And if we have to, we monitor and we adjust. So I have to put it in a nutshell, clear communication, consistent communication, collaboration, and grace.
Thank you very much. And I can appreciate that. Like my boss said, we implemented that Teams app, and I was catching it with that. I don't know if I caught on yet, but I've never been in so many WebEx, Zoom, conference calls in my life. But Zoom definitely came in time. And I'm still learning. She's still gonna mess with me.
You're still gonna use it.
Ms. Johnson, what is a big lesson you learned?
I think the biggest lesson for me as county administrator, I saw how strong my team was. You know, in times especially the three of us, we are always at the front line when it comes to an emergency. And we know we have to step into the plate. And some of our leaders, our directors, you know, they don't necessarily participate in emergency like hurricanes or, you know, tornadoes. But I learned how strong my team was because we were able to, you know, get on a team's conference call and deploy information to their departments and keep everybody calm and still come up with strategies on how we can take care of the community and take care of our staff at the same time. You know, we had some employees who tested positive for COVID-19, and so we were able to still maintain operations. And so we learned that, you know, just stepping up to the plate and seeing how they were put in an uncomfortable situation, but they were able to do things that weren't necessarily their normal responsibility. And I think that helped when we were deploying information out to the community. We were brainstorming as a group on all levels. And so we were able to get information out relatively quickly. And then also we learned that the Virginia Department of Emergency Management is right there for us. You know, whatever we needed, VDM can't step up to the plate, whether it was masks or PPE. They know that Charles City is a small locality. And so we had great partnerships that we had built prior to COVID doing other emergency events. So I think just learning how our team is strong and they are able to, you know, do some uncomfortable things, but make it successful. And I would tell anybody I have the greatest staff because everybody wears 10 hats. And so for that, for COVID-19, they had to wear a COVID-19 hat added to their staff. And so they were able to just help move and navigate the information throughout the county relatively quickly. And I know I'm going to give kudos to Jimmy. You know, this was his first event, you know, as he's new to the county. This is coming up on year 2, right? And so Jimmy had never run a real event on his own. And I said, have at it, and just kind of throw him in an uncomfortable situation. And you see where we are tonight, and you see how he's done, you know, great things. And we tease him and said, you know, we call his nickname is Can't Get Right, because we just say he can't get anything right. But that's a joke, but truly he got COVID-19 right because he was able to communicate with VDH and VDM and pull all the resources. He was our main point of contact for Charles City County. So he was put in a situation where he just stepped up to the plate. So I got to see how all of my staff members were able to just step up, and that toiled a lot for me. Especially, you know, when you're a leader, you have to think, do I have to do all of this myself? But a good leader can stand back and watch operations still flow. So that's what I learned, how my team is stronger than what I thought. So good job, Jimmy, if I don't say it to you anymore the rest of the year.
I'm finished for the night. Major Kuma, same question. What was the biggest lesson you learned?
I'm not sure the biggest lesson, but I guess what I got with the situation is teamwork. I mean, because one minute we dealing with COVID, the next minute we're having to chief with other problems while the COVID was going on. So teamwork, I know a lot of people called show-offs because now people want to do a parade, personal parades. So, you know, we did our part with that. So, I mean, teamwork and seeing the community come together. She talks about the emergency management team. I think we've grown closer. It was already a good team, but I think we even closer now than it was before because we was having meetings 7 days a week, you know. Yeah. People in the living rooms, hair tied up. But we made it do what it do. And that's one thing I wanted to let Charles City know, that you do have a good emergency management team here in the background. You don't know everybody, you don't see everybody, but we're here making things happen in the background.
I think that was we're always working. Right. Because you don't see us work, we're always working, trying to improve on things and make things better for the citizens. We're pretty good, but our first priority is the citizens of Charles City County.
And I think, even though the doors were closed, we found ourselves still working those same 12, 14, 16-hour days, I'm closing the laptop still at 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, man, I got a lot of work done though, because there was no interruptions, but we still worked long hours.
And then we did it with no complaints. We get mad, hey, we're not having a meeting today, so we had people getting mad because we won't have a COVID meeting. Hey, what's going on? So, where's our meeting today?
Chief?
I think it's a lesson I should have learned a long time ago, but one of the biggest lessons I learned from here is you've got to model the behavior that you want. And even when I would go home, kids come by, we have a mask. And I said, you need to make sure that you teach it to your children and your grandchildren. And I was struck by what Alexa said. The younger folks didn't feel as vulnerable as some of us old folks, but for you to demonstrate that behavior is going to really help your peers understand it. And I've used this to approach people and say, look, the science says math, the science says that math is better. So let's encourage everyone with whom we come in contact, not in your face way, but just start the conversation. I have on my mask to protect you. Couldn't you put on a mask to protect me? So it really caused me to step up my game and understand my responsibility, not only to myself, but those who might look at me with eyes. So to me, that was a very positive awakening or reawakening to my role. And I regard that as a personal role, but, I'm a Christian and I believe in those tenets espoused by Jesus Christ. And I think I really should be a person.
And I guess one of the biggest lessons regarding our church would be the use of technology. We wish that we could be together in a church sanctuary, but we can still worship, but doing a different way. So when on a normal Wednesday, when I had Bible study, I had about 15 to 20 people. Now that I'm recording my Bible study, I can get 120. And it also gives me a chance to look at some of the Bible teachings and sermons and church services from other churches. So in one respect, it given us a chance to develop new methods. And one other thing I wanted to say also is that the resources that we need to survive are already here. God has already given us what we need. We just need to be resourceful and be creative and create new methods. And we'll be able to get through this together. And this is something very important that's already said, together, and being concerned about one another.
And I think that's a good point you made as far as, I know most churches, I would say probably Baptist churches, their services start at 11, a lot of them, 10, 11, and they don't get a chance to hear other pastors preach because they're busy. So I think that probably was a good thing you get to do now. And do you have a favorite pastor that you like to hear?
All of them. Yeah, it's a different flavor, but we're all doing the same thing.
Do you listen to some of the pastors in Charles City, or do you go to other?
Some of my friends from other churches.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to follow that. When I read this question, the first word that came to my mind was resilience.
I was gonna say
It was just like, that's the word that came to my mind. In the social work field, well, in the social work field, our job and our hearts are to help others. And that's what we do with case management and our prescribers, our mental health clinicians. But when our clients and individuals we work with, they just stepped up because I think they knew, if people realized this wasn't, it affected everybody. It wasn't a fire, it wasn't a tornado, it wasn't a storm, it was something that affected everybody in this room, everybody that we knew somehow it affected. And the resilience of our individuals and our citizens, like you guys were saying, they supported us through this too. I mean, we had them come and check in on case managers when we would check on them. They said, well, how are you doing? So the support from our citizens the resilience of people is just, in my professional and personal life, has just really amazed me. And but everything comes, everybody at this table says teamwork. All the, between the citizens and the services, we all just work together. And if we didn't know the answer to something, we called another department to try to get the answer. You know, it was fire, or even DSS or the schools, in any department, everybody was just kind of willing to help. It wasn't everybody out for themselves. You know, it was, and all the counties worked together too. So those are the things, the lessons and things that I saw from everybody, is just resilience, teamwork, and support.
Now, I know you've been out in the communities, so what are some of the needs of people in the community? What are some of their needs coming from the local governments, or just what are their needs that they need as far as
With like mental health supports, with that's case management, clinician, therapy, all that stuff. We really had to incorporate what you guys were saying was the WebEx and the Zoom and the telehealth. From what we can see right now, the main need, and this goes with the schools, is just the whole thing with internet and making sure everybody are on the same playing field, everybody has the technology they need, and the internet supports. You know, we had individuals that had never used a cell phone before. And we had to have a client's family come over there and walk them through that. It was interesting. We had lots of clients that actually have learned now to do telehealth, that they prefer it better. They're working actually better with their psychiatrists and mental health clinicians because they feel more comfortable. That was really interesting, the positive thing, and that's something that we want to continue. But we want to make sure we have that, everybody has an opportunity to do that. And that's going to take the work of everybody, and try to provide the internet capability along with the technology. So, I live in a rural area as well, far western Goochland, so you know, it's the same thing out there. It's just trying to get everybody in the areas, and there's even people in the city and in town that don't have the technology internet. So that's, and then the transportation was the other piece, because a lot of our case managers typically would go and pick up the individuals and bring them to their appointments and things like that. So that was another difficulty, especially being out in Charles City and you can't, you know, in far eastern areas. It's hard to find transportation to get people. We had psychiatrists driving to people's houses, dropping off prescriptions and things like that, or going to the pharmacy for clients that couldn't get there. But most of the clients were resilient and reached out to some family supports, or we just got creative. But the main thing I think we saw is the technology, internet, and transportation. It's what people really need.
Reverend Tucker, about your church members?
One of the things that you may observe when you look at history is an ebb and flow. In other words, times of stress followed by times of calm. Maybe the country was in a war for a time, and then there's a time of recovery from the war. There have been pandemics in the past, and people have recovered from them. In other words, a time of stress followed by a time of calm. Well, we're in a time of stress. So it's important as pastors for us to inspire our people so that the best of our humanity rises to the top, so that we live the best of our humanity. And in other words, we don't panic and turn on each other, but we care about each other and we check on each other and we show our love and compassion for one another during those stressful times. So we're going through, I guess, what you would call that time of stress, and eventually better times will come. But as I said, it's important for us as pastors to encourage our people. You know, let us seek God. Let us look for love and compassion. And we want to try to encourage the better part of our humanity to represent who we are.
Well said, sir. Well said. Chief Atkins.
One of the needs that has arisen among my community is just, there's scammers out there. People that are calling you to take advantage of you. We're trying to work with folks to let them know certain agencies don't call you. I mean, so if you see it, if somebody represents themselves, for instance, as IRS, say, delinquent on their taxes, or people from Social Security calling, which they don't call. And I have said, look, they don't call. Somebody called you and said, you're supposed to get a stimulus check, and I'll give you one now. Small percentage, but I take everything. So what we're trying to do is go out and educate our people to be aware of these things, and before you make any kind of commitment, call somebody, and we can help you through it. And to help folks who didn't quite understand that there were some grace periods on getting your cars inspected. A lot of those things that they routinely occur, and they just know I've got to get it done. So we help people have to connect with DMV and other agencies through the internet. And, you know, my kids can tell you I'm not a technology wizard, but I'm much better than I used to be. So I understand those folks who are very leery of it. So we'll reach out and try to help our people bridge that gap, and we try to figure a way to reach people who need some just that human touch, without really being actually being there, but to help stimulate their brains, their thought processes, and just let them know that they're not alone. We had every fourth Wednesday at the Chickamauga Travel Center, we would have what we call Elvis Day luncheon, and invited members from all over the community to come. And we'd have board games, and we'd have bingo, and somebody might be a prize or something, or canned peas. It doesn't matter. These folks love to win something. They love the camaraderie. They play dominoes, and we haven't been able to do that. So we reached out to people who used to come. It's a pretty good gathering, and let them know we're still thinking about them. And as you said, the sun's going to come up again. You know, this will be over. Let's do the things we know to do. What technology has offered us, what science has said, and work together, and we'll get through this. So I guess the biggest thing is just to reassure that that demographic that needs that support needs to go with it.
Thank you, Ed. Major Coleman?
For me being out in the field, I think the biggest need in Charles City is probably more volunteers. Because I know a lot of events, a lot of my guys volunteer for us. We had food drive, food pantry. But even there, it was pretty much this, the food pantry had their same staff. As my guys, we had the same stuff, but there wasn't a lot of people participating in the food pantry. So I think as far as we go forward, we have to find a way to get more people involved in the community to help them provide volunteer services. So I know we're talking about now, the CERT team. So I think the more we get volunteer people involved, it'll help the community as a whole.
I think one thing that I do believe that in everything that happens that's bad, something good comes out of it. It's always a blessing in disguise, right? And so for years, I've been, telling the board of supervisors we need to have a permanent food pantry because we are classified as a food desert in this community, and there's a need. I know St. John had stepped up and Feed More, and so because Feed More wasn't doing the outdoor distribution, the Charles City Public Schools was able to step up and help have a facility, and I know that you guys are having some renovations, so now we're looking for space again. But in that, we were able to secure a little over $200,000 in donations, along with some grant money that we're securing to create a permanent food pantry for food distribution. And so we're looking to hopefully have all of that wrapped up by the end of the year, not constructed, but all of the business side of it, completed, so that we can break ground and have a new facility in the Roofville area. So, when I think the board of supervisors got to see firsthand, it's not that they didn't want to have a food pantry before, but it just wasn't a priority because there were so many needs. But from COVID-19, they got to see, wow, we really have a problem here in Charles City. And they gave me the authority to, write the grants and secure the private funding. So I think I'm happy to see that when that happens or comes to fruition, we'll eliminate that portion of the food that's to be able to provide, food, but also Congressman McKeachin and some of our other legislators has really stepped up to try to eliminate the food desert completely by identifying partners for a grocery store. So that's something that we've been working on because we don't have a grocery store here in Charles City. So Congressman McKeachin, Senator Warner, Delegate McQuinn, we've been doing a lot of conference calls and putting people at the table so that we can identify, where when we will get it, or if we will get it, or where we're going to put it. And so that's in the works right now. So out of COVID-19, it really shedded some light on, that opportunity. So we're thankful for that. And then we're just thankful for the CARES Act money that we did receive from the state feds, because some of the items that we're purchasing through COVID-19, it has been on a wish list for the county for years. And so, we were just in our emergency management team meeting this morning because we're planning for, how we would take care of the community in storms. And we've secured an incident command trailer. So if there is a huge, something catastrophic happens outside of COVID-19, we can still service the community, whether it's through the Department of Social Services or shelter. We'll be able to, pick up our incident command team and put them out in the field where the people are. And so we would never have been able to do that right now with just general fund money because it's not a priority. So CARES Act has afforded us a lot of opportunities to take care of the citizens, much better. So we're excited about that.
And I'm gonna share some credit. I'm gonna let Major Coleman take the credit for that mobile command.
These two are like the brothers, the kids who fight, I promise. You see, I have to sit in the middle of them.
I was a little bit against it, but then that's a great idea. And we had an incident yesterday that would have really came in handy yesterday. So I think that was a great idea.
Thank you, brother, I appreciate it.
Did you write that down?
That's how you have to uplift your brother.
We'll argue tomorrow.
Doctor?
One of the needs that we've seen, much like what others have mentioned, of course, it's the access to internet for the virtual learning and the teaching. We also realize the importance of having the one-to-one devices in the hands of our students and our teachers. We also realize the need to support our families. We're continuing to support our families with our Tiger Packs, which is food that is sent home with students during the school year, but we continued that effort throughout the summer in the midst of COVID-19. We continue to operate in a very different way, our community den, where we're able to support our families with cleaning supplies, clothing items, school supplies, and even food items from the community den. We also realized just recently the need to make sure that we are prepared to support all of our families with supporting their students with learning at home. More specifically, our guardians that may be older, there are grandparents supporting grandchildren, great-grandchildren that will be helping them navigate that learning online. So we have made efforts to put together modules that will help our guardians know how to support their students at home. From if you think your gigabytes on your Kajit is getting low, here's how to check it. It's a step-by-step process. We're going to offer those in line with proper social distancing and the wearing of face coverings, but we're going to offer these types of support, learning opportunities face-to-face. We're also going to record them and make them available online. So if somebody wants to go to the school division webpage to click on a how-to, they can watch a quick just-in-time type of learning to support their students at home. So we thought past just our parents helping the students, but what about the guardians or the grandparents or the great-grandparents that might be supporting the students with learning at home? That's a need we discovered. And then we also, I discovered as a school leader that I have to remind our educators that what they do matters. And I think while we were sheltering in place, I think a lot of people realize how important teachers are. A lot of times, it's the teaching profession that gets a lot of input and feedback from the public, because anybody who went to school feels like they have something to say about how school should run. And so I think while we were sheltering in place and individuals had to support the learning of their own children or someone in their family, they realized, I think, a little bit more the work that teachers do. And so I find that it's important for us as school leaders to remind our teachers what you do matters. And while the classroom setting and how that approach may look different, what you do is what makes the difference in the life of a child.
Thank you, thank you. Captain Richards?
The biggest need that I think as far from the fire department is people just need to be encouraged. Let them know it's gonna be okay. This too shall pass. And that's, we try to encourage people everywhere we go, regardless of the situation that we run into. When we run into them, it's usually one of the worst moments of their life. They've had some sort of devastation. And for us, if just a sec. Siri thinks I'm talking. If we could just encourage them and let them know it's going to be okay.
Ms. Whitaker?
One thing I think I noticed too, because when I stayed home for a few days there for a while, I think everybody experienced this loneliness. They're there, they're isolated, and sometimes as my car getting inspected, I was starting to freak out. So I understand how they have, and I really hope we've got a good communication to let each other know. I mean, even like there at the grill, Miss So-and-so, we've talked to her, and the churches are the best place for us to get that information. You can put out a list of 10 of your, people in your church to check on. Mm-hmm. Because, it's very easy right now to be depressed and think nobody really cares, what's happening to you. So I think it's time to do that, and so we can bring it and everybody just catch up. And like I said, I deliver stuff to people, if it's just knowing. We all have a heart, we all care, but we've got to let each other know.
Ms. Williams?
I agree with Ms. Bonnie. I feel like everyone in the community needs someone to talk to, whether it's just to call and check on you, see how you're doing, see if you need anything. Because even at my age, I find myself, I don't have nobody to talk to because I'm in the house all of the time. And my mom said, call one of your friends, text one of your friends. But at the same time, it's just like sometimes I feel like I don't want to be a burden to them, or I don't want to feel like I'm in the way of them. So I just feel like we need to be able to support each other.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna come right back to you. So, and one of our last questions is, what steps are you taking to help with your mental and physical health during this time?
For me, it's working out and trying to stay active and stay motivated. Being that I'm a senior, I'm just trying to get back in shape for basketball and track when I am able to compete and play again. Just getting ready for applying to colleges and visits, whether they're virtual or if at some point I'm able to actually go onto the campus. So, just staying motivated.
I used to play a little basketball too.
All right, here we go.
Ain't missed a jump shot since '69. Ms. Bonnie, what are you doing to stay mentally focused and health-wise? Are you riding your bicycle?
No, not enough. But I do try to, I chase 4 grandchildren a lot.
That's
That works. But I feel fortunate that with the restaurant and friends I've made over 11 years that, and I know this, I'm like, have you seen so-and-so in a while? So able to keep check on people that way. But I think the churches are doing an amazing job. David Patterson, where I go, is, I know he's working with the schools and doing so much. And I always feel bad I'm not doing enough. But I've attended some of the services, they're wonderful, I really like it, watching on Facebook, but I just think we need to, you know, get out and get the community more involved. I like that.
Got British, I know you're doing a lot of fishing, I know. I just get you.
I try. No, but one thing that is, you know, we run call after call after call after call, and it builds up inside of us. And a lot of times, you know, we can't go home and talk to our families because, you know, a lot of it is privileged information, so we can't discuss it. And then some things, our family just can't comprehend some of the stuff that we see. So we have to rely on each other. You know, so we'll sit around and talk about something and try not to keep stuff bottled up because, you know, you put so much in a bottle, you know, once the bottle gets full, then it explodes. You know, we try not to let that happen. But if we can just talk amongst ourselves, then that helps to lower that level of stuff that you've got bottled up. As far as, you know, physically, you know, the physical part of it, you know, even though the gyms were closed, there's still a lot of things that we can do. You know, you can go and walk around the house. You can go in the kitchen and pick up a 10-pound bag of potatoes. You know, just anything to exercise the muscles that doesn't get much work from being sedentary so long. But, you know, for us, though, it's just talking amongst ourselves. You know, somebody else that I can talk to, we can relate to what I've gone through. Because I can talk to my wife, but she can't comprehend some of the stuff that I do, some of the stuff that, plus I can't talk to her about everything. So, but talking to other firefighters is what helps us out.
Dr. Johnson, what do you do to help you stay in shape and your mental and physical being?
So personally, my husband and I have started riding our bikes a lot. We have, and so that's something that we have found enjoyment with. And being a woman of faith, I have found that I am making sure I devote some time for personal devotions. And I've made sure that I embed some time for prayer. And that's just me personally. Now, on the professional side, when we talk about what we're doing collectively in our organization as a school division to make sure we put a focus on mental health more specifically, we are encouraging our teachers to have morning meetings with their students where they just pause before they even launch into the academics to talk to students, to greet them, to ask them how they're doing, to take a moment to tell them about what they can expect during that day. I had an opportunity to have a lot of meet and greet sessions virtually as I was segueing into my role, and I did take some time to meet with students virtually, and one of my questions was just, how are you? Taking the time just to hear from students. And then we're putting some emphasis on their social emotional well-being by employing two curriculums, one for elementary called Mind Up and one for secondary students called Strong Teens. And it is a curriculum that specifically focuses on social emotional well-being. And so this is our way to make sure that our teachers are embedding social emotional learning along with the regular core content academic learning.
Ms. Johnson, what do you do to relieve your stress from COVID-19?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
1 minute.
You know, for me, during COVID-19, I actually did Oprah and Deepak's meditation series to help pretty much, it just teaches you how to get recentered, which helped me to align my spiritual time with God. And it just helped me to increase my prayer life, and something that I hadn't done in years that I used to do a lot with my mother. I was able to go outside and get in my flower beds, and I created all these flower beds and a fire pit. I'm gonna invite you over to the I'm gonna invite the whole team over. But I was outside and I was digging in the earth, and it just, COVID-19 just allowed me to just stop and slow down. And that's what I needed, because we just go all the time. And I realized, like, I got to enjoy nature. I got to really see, you know, butterflies really come out of their cocoons. You know, any other time I would have been at a board meeting or doing something, so I was outside and I don't know what I was thinking, but I created this fire pit and I just kept digging and it got to be 20 by 20. And I'm like, what was I doing? But, you know, I'll be able to have friends and family, you know, come over once this is lifted just to enjoy. So I'm back to nature, back to meditation and a stronger prayer life. So that's what I do to relieve stress because you give me enough stress that I need.
Captain Bridges be listening for that fire code. Major Coleman, what do you got?
It's been kind of hard for me, because I'm like stuck in the middle. It's kind of hard for me to break loose. So I've been to the beach a couple of times, but you know, for the sheriff's office, COVID is one part of what we deal with on a daily basis. So we still deal with people, you know, committing crimes. I know one time it seemed like, because we had kind of cut back on some of our traffic stuff over there. But then accidents started increasing. People started speeding more. So now I gotta, you gotta go back hard on that. So it's like, it's been a everyday task for me. Even when I'm off, I still receive calls. So I'm really never off. So, but you know, with everything, it's to me, it's like I've just been doing more work during COVID than what I normally do. So I'm kind of overworked.
I'm gonna let you take off, sir.
Because it's like this time, like, you know, we deal with COVID, we deal with hurricanes, you know, so, and then like I told you, Chief, we deal with another issue. Yeah. So it's like, it just don't stop.
When he called, I don't know his hours, but when I called him, he was like, you know, I do volunteer work. I mean, people think mission work is a lot of things. You don't have to business and talk to people, but my wife and I cut the grass in the cemetery church, and we cut the grass around the church. And I mean, it's that volunteer work, and when I'm doing it, I know I'm doing it for the church, doing it for the people. And to me, it lets me relieve some stress, some tension, and that's one thing that remains normal. Cutting the grass and, you know, trimming around the tombstones and doing those things, and it's work that's needed because the church doesn't have to pay for that service. And another thing that helps me is helping others, people who've been really depressed about COVID-19. And I've heard the term is, you know, this too should pass. I cite the eradication of polio, advances that are being made in medical science. I have a friend who had surgery on his colon, had cancer, and they're reconnected in the same day. I mean, just those advances that are going on around us, and I credit every advance in medical technology to our Creator. He enables us to do the experiments, to do the work, to find cures for these diseases. So I just say, look, folks, it's tough. Let's do what we need to do to get through it, but science is steadily advances. We're going to find a way to keep this right, keep the faith.
Reverend Tucker.
And I just want to echo some of the things that were already said, like exercise, taking walks, and I want to add to that prayer and reading your Bible to increase your faith. Don't try to watch the news all day. It will make you feel depressed. Okay?
Like,
Start feeding yourself positive information. And when you read your Bible, you'll see how people face difficult times. And with their faith in God, they overcame those difficult times. And one of the last things I want to say is we need to keep encouraging our people to trust our leadership. Many times we feel like so much contradiction is coming from our leadership, but encourage our people. We can trust our leadership. They're doing their best, and these are tough times that they're learning as they go, but they care about us, and they are trying to help us. So encourage our people. We're going to get through this, and our leadership, they're going to help us. So encourage our people. Let's hold trust in our leadership because they're good people, and they're doing their best.
we work hard.
Got that right.
And Doc, I'm gonna come back to you. I want you to have the last word. At this time, Anybody in our audience, do you have any comments you'd like to make? Anybody? All right.
Oh, can I ask one question real quick?
Yes, sir.
I heard something about face masks that were being given to the churches. Is that still being done?
Yes, it is, and I'm glad when y'all come get them all.
So who do I remind my pastors to check with so they can get them?
They can call my office and my assistant Rachel Greenhouse.
Okay.
She will set you up, just come by there and pick them up, 200 of them.
Okay, I'll put that out to my pastors so that they can check in on that. And we appreciate that because that will help us to pass them out to our people so they can have them use.
Yeah, it took a lot out of my pocket, but I figured it was a great cause for you all to have.
And on behalf of the pastors of the churches, thank you for caring about us and thinking about us. Amen.
Yeah, I think each church will get, what, 200? They're already backed up, and we're just waiting for you guys to come pick them up.
I'll put the word out to the pastors. so they can-
And besides the churches, we're gonna give them to all the nonprofit organizations. We've already given some to the schools. We're gonna give them to the senior organizations, the tribal community, give them to all nonprofit organizations.
And I think,
Amen.
I got an email that we're getting, they want us to take some more. I got an email from Katie today, so. But the only stipulation when we get them from the state, we want to be able to pass them out to, just general population, but it's a stipulation, it has to go to a nonprofit. And so churches do fall in that area, so that's why we can't give it to the citizens, but we can give it to you all to give to them, so.
And if you have a mask, you're more likely to have it on.
So at this point in time, I'm gonna give each panelist, since we don't have any questions from the panel, I'm gonna give each panelist 1 minute for a final thought, and I'm gonna start with Ms. Williams. 1 minute.
I would just say, stay positive, this will pass, and stay motivated, stay strong. We need our community as a backbone, and if we're working together, the chance of the spread of this virus will go down. Even though we're small, we're making a big impact.
Right, amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Bonnet, 1 minute.
Okay, I was just gonna say, mainly it's don't ever give up. Like I said, we didn't do anything to get this, so we don't have to feel guilty like we've done anything wrong. But it's just to keep that spirit. Visit every idea that we hear and every option that we can come up with. Listen to your family, the advice, and the people you work with, listen to their advice, and pray a lot.
Yes.
I think right now that is a big help. And like everybody says, we're gonna we gotta deal with it for a while and face it, and we'll have a clear conscience when this is all done, all gone.
I'm ready.
I'm a lot like Dr. Chapter in my faith. I always try to think about if God brought me to it, He's gonna bring me through it.
All right.
So having said that, regardless of what's happening, regardless of what's going on in the world, Jesus is still on the throne, and it's gonna be okay.
Come on.
So once again, being the newest member of this community panel, I'm very, very fortunate to serve in this new role. And I don't think it happenstance that I got the opportunity to be a part of this great team and in this great community for such a time as this. So I'm going to continue to make sure I collaborate of course, with my school team and with the community so that we can do what's best for kids. And my final word is encourage young people, encourage our students, pre-K to 12. They're people too, they're going through this just like we are. And most of the time we find a platform or another person we can talk to about it. But let's make a space and give them a seat at the table also, where we can hear from them, and let's encourage our young people, let them know that it's going to be okay, and let's lead by example and let them pull through from the strength that we provide.
Major Coleman.
Thanks, Jimmy, for this panel, and I enjoyed it. And as we move forward, I know before this happened, I know Michelle was talking, and I was telling her, you know, I enjoy our management team. And one thing about it, we all get along, we work well together. So I thank Sheriff Jones for allowing me to pretty much give me to Michelle to help out and bring pretty much the sheriff's office point of view to the whole operation. And as we move forward, I like, you know, to try to get involved, and we can do more partnerships together. So when something else happens, we'll be better than we are now, as far as the community.
You know, I'd like to thank the fellow panelists, and I'd like to thank the members of the audience. And the final thought is we say we're in this together, so let's act like it. If we're in it together, let's pull together, let's build each other up. And I do think we can beat this. Education, lead by example, and just be the people that I think God created us to be.
Brother Tucker.
And through faith in God and working together and showing our love and compassion for the community, and we can get through this together.
Now I say Ms. Denise Flory for last, because I wanted her to just give us quickly some tips on how to deal with COVID mentally, from a mental standpoint. Some things that you may or may not be going through as an individual or a family, and how can we get help dealing with that, or get professional help if we need it.
Just from your personal standpoint, your mental health is most important. Getting up every day and having a purpose is what makes us all keep going. And during this time, it can be really difficult, and we really don't even know our purpose some days because of everything that's going on. But being together and just the people in this room, and thank you for inviting me. With mental health supports, we always say to reach out to one person. Ms. Williams said that exactly. If it's just one person you can reach out to, if you're feeling lonely, call someone. You can plan your day. Trying to keep a schedule will help you try to keep a normal or normal we had before. Just trying to have something planful every day, whether it's cooking a meal or working in your garden, taking your dog for a walk, something like that. Just something that you enjoy. Also keeping goals and a project for the future. That's really important right now because it's so hard to see the future because we're in this. So just remember, we're going to keep moving forward. I know you said things, in the past, there's been pandemics and there's stresses and the calm. We're still in that stressful period, but knowing there is going to be a future that we have to still plan. Senior, Mrs. Williams over there, she's still planning her future, and that's what we have to keep our eye on the goal and the prize, and just making sure that that there's people out there to support you. The mental health department is here in your community. If you feel like you're struggling, or if you have a loved one that is, or just your neighbor is struggling, we've got mental health supports at the Providence Sports Center. You can call the local DSS, and they can absolutely direct you to do the call as well. It's just a phone call. You don't have to put your name. You can just say, hey, I know someone that's having a hard time. And it could be with anything. It doesn't have to just be mental health. It could be with substance abuse, or they don't have power. They don't have their lights on. They need food. But we're all here to help the citizens and to help each other. So,
Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of this COVID roundtable. I have really enjoyed our conversations tonight. We've talked about a very serious issue that is going on, but we've had a little bit of fun talking about it too. But it is a serious issue. It's a serious safety issue. As a county, we're going to continue to promote preventiveness and safety for our citizens and our employees. And we hope that you will do the same for your families and everyone that you come in contact with. So I want to thank each panelist. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming out tonight and being a part of this. I really do appreciate it. It was my first time doing it, and the participation was great. I called on you, you answered, and I thank you very much for that. Appreciate you. So I'm gonna give you the last final word to the boss. Let her close us out.
Well, thanks, Jimmy. To all of the panelists, I want to echo what Jimmy said. Thank you. You know, when you look around the table, this is a clear depiction of where we're moving Charles City, and that's together. We have people from all different backgrounds, from different entities, coming together to move the county forward. And our theme for the Board of Supervisors and Administration that we're focusing on is we all win when we work together. And tonight is a perfect example of that. You know, we'll get through COVID, but we'll get through it better together. And so all of the things that have been said have been positive, you know, and how we're just looking at our community. Because I think I probably can say and speak for everybody around this table, you love Charles City. And so do we. And that's the key. When you have a love for the community the way that we do, it makes your job easier. It makes you, you know, constantly looking at how can I improve the quality of life for the people. And so I'm so thankful on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, and I thank you for participating in, you know, dealing with any type of crisis. You know, we've been on conference calls today looking at, you know, Hurricane Laura, so it never stops, you know. And I can honestly say, you can see I have my right and my left hand. These two guys here, you know, we fuss, we fight, we agree to disagree. You know, we get mad, Jimmy gets mad with Comer and I most times, but we come back and we have a great network. So we work really well together in order to bring our teams together so that we can hopefully, you know, give the community what they need in time of crisis. So on behalf of the board, thank you all, and to all of our citizens who came out tonight, thank you so much. Kudos to you. This was awesome. Great job, Jimmy. I think I'm on camera saying that, so you can replay that over and over again when you need to hear me say it. So that is all for me for right now. So thank you guys and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.